if you think about it, we can't achieve anything without it. We give it all the time. Yet when it comes to matters of the heart, we are so stingy with it. If you know how to read, then you already know what I'm talking about. You read the caption and you know I'm talking about trust. In this video, I'm gonna talk about why it's so hard to trust, give you 3 tips on how to trust faster and how to implement those tips in order to be able to increase your level of self-esteem and confidence fast. Why is it so hard for you to trust? Here's why. Our brain makes connections with familiar pathways. One of my favorite therapists, Marissa Peer, coined this phrase, or maybe she did, and she just uses it all the time, and I absolutely love her. Basically, our brain is hardwired to make sure that we survive, not to make sure that we're happy. It's for survival. So if you're out in the woods and someone tells you there is a bear in the woods, what you're gonna do is your brain is going to make all of these connections with bears, danger, and everything else that is not trustworthy. Right away, your brain kicks into survival mode and it starts doing everything that it needs to do in order for you to get moving and to survive. What the hell do bears have to do with trust, right? So what's happening is that your brain automatically made the connection to trustworthy or not, dangerous or not. If it detects danger, it's going to go in the opposite direction, the pathway leading to less danger, leading to survival. And what happens is when we are entering relationships, whether it's friendships, work relationships, or romantic relationships, our brain is going to make those connections there as well for survival, not to be happy. So even if it doesn't make you happy, it's familiar. That's what people talk about when they are saying like, oh, you better the devil you know, or they're saying like they'd rather be in a toxic relationship, or they're more familiar with pain. And even the song by Sam Smith where he's saying, I'm way too good at goodbyes. Like he doesn't know how to handle a new situation. So he's gonna continue to go with the same pattern that he's been going with, which is I'm going to either sabotage or I'm not gonna do really well in this relationship. And that's okay because I'm really good at goodbyes. My brain is making the connection, relationship, goodbye. So what does trusting someone look like anyway? It's basically giving them the benefit of the doubt. Or let's just say it's like taking out a credit card and you're automatically giving them $10,000 and you're making sure that they're going to keep their word in paying you back. You're trusting them, giving them the benefit of the doubt. Here is where it gets difficult to trust. If your brain is making a familiar connection with either this type of person, this type of relationship, or this type of vulnerability that you are opening yourself up to, then it's gonna kick into survival mode. What it wants to do is make sure that you survive. If you're constantly saying that relationships are painful, you don't know if you could do it, or what is something I hear like, all men are dogs. Guess what? Your brain is making that connection and is not going to allow you to get into a relationship, even if you want to, even if it's making you happy, because of that old connection, because of that old pattern from before. Those thought patterns, those connections are so strong because they haven't tried to make new connections often enough. You have to make new connections often enough in order for your brain to make a new pathway, a new connection. And if they're not doing that, they're not challenging themselves, then there's really not a big chance that they will learn how to trust. Now, this is pretty fucked up, especially if you're on the receiving end and you want to be trusted. A person that has trust issues will not budge, and then you're screwed. So here are the 3 tips that you can use to learn how to trust again, so that your brain can make new connections. Don't get it confused with your mind. In my opinion, your mind is connected to your heart and your soul. Your brain is physical. Your mind is not. Your brain is something that is guiding these patterns, and if you can make new ones, then you'll be able to challenge yourself in different ways that you never thought possible. Tip number 1, self-belief. I heard Dr. Phil say once on Oprah, okay, I know how you feel about Dr. Phil, or at least how a lot of people feel about Dr. Phil, but he is actually educated and he is a therapist in real life. Off camera, he does know what he's talking about. But anyway, let me get back to what he said on Oprah. So on Oprah, what he had said that was so powerful. Trust is when we can handle what they do, not predict what they do. When I heard this, I was like, man, that's powerful. What does this have to do with self-belief though, right? So basically, when you can handle what someone does, that is basically, I'm saying basically like so many times, right? That is taking care of all of the what if questions. Like, what if they cheat on me? What if they fall out of love with me? What if they don't love me back? What if they don't feel the same way? What if they don't do what they say? All of those what if questions are automatically taken care of if you believe in yourself. Yes, those things might happen, and yes, you might get hurt. But if you truly believe in yourself, that you know what you bring to the table, you know your worth, and you know that everything is going to be okay regardless of what happens. And if any of those things happen, that means either there is work that needed to be done within the relationship that perhaps lacked communication, or that maybe this person wasn't the right person for you. So how do we implement tip number 1? This is super simple and it will help you right away. If you need any help with it, please reach out to me on any of my social media. I'd love to help you work through this. Implementation with self-belief is simple. Write a list of all the positive aspects that you like about yourself, of all your positive attributes. This list is supposed to remind you of your worth and what you mean to yourself, what you bring to the table. And if you can see that within you, then you know that you're worth it, and you will start to believe that someone else will think that you're worth it as well. It starts with you. Tip number 2, practice what you preach. Often, it's hard to trust other people when we ourselves are not being honest. So if you're always lying and you're not being honest with other people, then you're often going to think that other people are lying to you too. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be big lies. It can be very small ones. But all of these really small lies can accumulate and really start chipping away at your self-esteem and your confidence. And we don't want that. If you're not acting trustworthy, then it's going to be hard to see trustworthiness in others as well. So how do you implement this tip right away? Super simple. Keep your word. If you've ever read the book, The 4 Agreements, this is something that I recommend to my clients. there's an agreement that is called be impeccable with your word, meaning keep your word. And that is whether it's to other people and especially to yourself. If you say this week or for the next couple days, I'm gonna give up pop or I'm gonna give up sweets or whatever, keep your word to yourself. And when you don't keep your word to yourself, make sure that you're compassionate to yourself as well. This is what happens. If you don't keep your word to yourself and you're really, really hard on yourself, when someone else doesn't keep their word to you, you are equally as hard on them as well. Neither of you deserve that. Both of you deserve compassion. It's so easy to trust other people when you trust yourself. It's easier to hold others accountable when you're holding yourself accountable. It is also so easy to believe others when you're being honest with yourself as well. Now, I didn't include this in the tips because it goes without saying. The best way to learn how to trust anyone or anything is to take your time with it. I know a lot of times, especially in romantic relationships, we fall in love and we want to rush into things, but that's when we get into the most trouble, when we're not building that foundation of trust. And that can also be in work relationships or in friendships as well. So if you take your time, know that you're worthy, know what you bring to the table, and allow yourself to build trust, to build the foundation together with either this team, this potential partner, or this new friend, everything will unfold differently as opposed to moving so quickly and not having time to process everything that's happening. Tip number 3, and the absolute fucking most important tip of them all. Every teacher, every coach, every therapist, every counselor, every guru will all agree with this tip. The reason why it's so hard for you to trust is because you have not healed from what affected the boundary of trust from before, from a long time ago. This could have started within childhood, it could have started in a previous relationship, it could have started anywhere. But if you have not taken the time to fully heal from either that previous relationship or even stuff from your childhood, then there's no way that you are going to be able to learn how to trust effectively, because it's always going to be in the back of your mind. If you do not heal these wounds, they will continue to fester. The healing process cannot be rushed. For some people, it takes a really long time, and for others, it doesn't. But the fact is that healing is necessary. And if you don't heal, what you're gonna do is you're going to continue to attract the same problem. You will not get past this lesson unless you learn what you're supposed to learn in order to get to the next level. Not healing those wounds affects all areas of your life. I know it's crazy. If it's a romantic relationship, how does that affect work relationships? Because it's still hard for you to trust. If it happened in a friendship, how does it happen in a romantic relationship? Because it's hard for you to trust. If it happened in a work relationship, it's not going to happen in my romantic relationship. Yes, it is. Why? Because it's hard for you to trust. You never did the proper healing to trust, to learn how to trust, and to make healthy decisions having to do with relationships. If you never healed, then trusting is hard. If trusting is hard, that means you don't believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you don't believe in your worth, then it's going to be difficult for you to believe that someone else can see your worth and believe in you too. If you're tired of having trust issues and you finally want to have that healthy, happy relationship where you're able to grow and bloom, put a heart emoji down in the comments and say, I'm ready. I'm Lupita V from Lupita V Coaching, licensed psychotherapist, confidence coach, and motivational speaker. And if you're interested in my services and what I do with clients and help transform them in only 90 days, reach out to me in any of my social media. I'd love to start that conversation with you. And remember, you've always been enough.